Hey. What's going on, Adrian?
What's up, Marlon? Doing good over
What's up,
here,
man?
man. No complaints. You doing all right?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, bro. As you know, man, been working on some stuff, been building some stuff, in this AI centric universe that we live in. And so, yeah, man, been going great, bro. How was working in any cool projects man, throughout the week?
I had to say the coolest thing that I've been working on is it's been really a labor of love. It's been really I've been working on integrating this Pinecone database into
Mm,
what I do. So I've been playing around with different embedding models and different natural language models in order to ask it questions. And I've experienced some success. So it's pretty exciting.
for the people, real quick, maybe we didn't do this before, man. Explain what Pinecone and vector databases, are and why we need them in this universe now.
There is a much better authority on me than me out there on this topic. But in short, what a vector database is it's a data store for embeddings. So it'll be chunks of data from a source. So this could be text. Text will be like split up into chunks across, entry items in a database, and a natural language model will be able to interact with the Pinecone database to pull information from it and generate summaries using its brains. That's about as far as I know about it. But what it
Yeah.
is it's a convenient data store in order to store the information that you have privately, not share with anyone else.
Yep. No, exactly. Well, yeah, man. Well, you guys, as you know, man, this is AI with Friends. We've been doing this podcast now, man. This is episode 7, and so, man, we are practitioners of stuff here in the space. We are builders, we're developers, we're engineers, and we create this podcast because we've been talking around this subject for like the last year or so. We just been doing kind of group calls and stuff, and we said we finally got to the place, and you say, you know what? This information is probably beneficial and everything to the rest of the world and stuff here. And so
We
we
should
all
help.
decided to,
Yeah.
yeah, we should help. Yeah. We should put it out and stuff here, man. And so, hey, yeah, throughout this call and throughout this segment, we talk about just some of the things that are going on here in the AI universe. We gave our perspective on it. They said we have a unique perspective because we're building, we're engineering, we're developing solutions every single day. And so, with our practitioner stuff here in the space, man, we kind of want to share it with y'all. And so, yeah, man, let's kick it off and everything. So here we go. The Verge put out an interesting article. In quotations here, they said we've had Photoshop for 35 years, often used to downplay, concerns over AI's impact on image manipulation. It said that he wrote that it's challenging this comparison, pointing out that while Photoshop requires technical skill and significant time, today's AI tools, like those in Google Pixel, reimage feature allows users to effortless generate sophisticated fake images, which illustrates how AI is making image manipulation easier and more convincing, raising alarming questions about the trust in what we see, unlike traditional tools that we've seen and stuff in the past. AI now enables anyone from a smartphone to create a deceiving image in seconds, eroding the credibility of the visual media. As AI becomes more accessible, the question isn't about its capability, it's more about the implications and trust and authenticity in a world increasingly driven by AI visual content. Adrian, man, what do you think, man? Are we getting into this AI centric world, particularly on the multi-model side of images, where it can become a tool for bad use? And so, what's your thoughts and stuff here?
Whew. Well, I feel for the artists. I feel that for the people who are maybe a little bit worried that their graphic design degree or their degree that they have in the arts could be threatened by AI encroaching more and more into
Yeah,
the Photoshop area.
yeah,
So first and foremost, I feel for them, but it really, I think the creativity is going to win at the end of the day. There's basically, creativity versus automation. And I think if you have a vision, you have a voice that's unique, you will still, and unique, and it resonates. There's still room for you to, really make it out there. With AI, it's using the data that's already there. It's using the images. It's in referencing images that have already been created, that are already out there. So it can only do so much. So what I think is where it's going to end up doing is being an assistant more than a replacement. So there will still be required a lot of, probably using, I don't want to use this word too much, but fine tuning, really adjusting what is generated by Photoshop to clean it up and make it more presentable, make it more authentic to what you're trying to do. So the more that you know how to use Photoshop, and you have a strong technical background in that, I think that you'll be good, because I compare it to coding, the state of being a coder right now. The code codes itself, but the code that codes itself still needs to be checked. We haven't fully crossed that threshold into, let it rip, make me a full application and deploy it. We're almost there.
Yeah.
But having a strong coding background is going to ensure that, the quality of what you're making is there.
I was watching the music producer Timbaland the other day. He started to create some AI generated songs.
Oh yeah, seen those too.
Yeah. And he really, started to dive into it. And I think it was interesting to watch his experience, because he has the knowledge, the skill set to understand what fundamental things you need to do to create a song, if not a hit. And so giving somebody like this in the creative world, this becomes a superpower for somebody like him. And I think comparing this to artists who are looking to use these tools and everything on the image side of things, it also can become a superpower, to them. Now, I do understand the concern stuff. I understand the concerns. I understand the concerns, and then because there's still, it's still a big question mark on how companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, how they change their image models. It's still rumored that it's been trained on public and private images, thing, along with companies, along with other image model companies and everything. And so I think it's really interesting too, because how this labels towards Adobe with Photoshop, because apparently Adobe is right now the only model that is safe to use on the B2B side, because they've trained their image model on their own images. And so it's rumored right now that they didn't train their images on public information and public data, so it can't come back to you and kind of kick you back and stuff in the long term, and stuff and everything. But I think this topic kind of goes with everything. I think the multi-model side with the images, I think this align with researchers and reporters instead of being concerned around it affecting and replacing them. I think it's the same thing for video. I think it's the same thing for music, and all these things. But there are individuals, companies, who are taking and using this and making it a superpower of those. And so I think in this world, as long as you're playing defense, you're going to lose.
For sure.
I think this is too. I mean, this thing is rolling. I mean, this is like the old kind of cartoon This is like the old cartoon of no. Yeah, this is like the old cartoon of the snowball kind of rolling down the hill, and it's kind of getting bigger, 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 and everything. And there's no stopping it. And so at this point, and so I think, if you switch over to Office and figure out how to use this along with your knowledge and skill set, I think you'll come out on top.
For sure. And this is the age of the hackers. It's the age of the people that get in there and try and figure it out. A lot of these models are free and open source, and you can get up there and use it. And it's not surprising that Timberland is one of those people. Being a Virginia Beach native. Yeah, went to school with his brother. No big deal. No big deal. Used to roll up to high school in the Lambo. No big deal. But I think that's an example. A lot of him and Pharrell too. They're these are people who really taught themselves how to do what they do. They had great mentors along the way. Timberland had Devontae Swing and Missy Elliott and everything in his circle. So that was a valued resource there. But it was the initiative that he took early on to really figure it out himself, and it does not surprise me that he is interested in and using AI to make beats. I'll be interested to see if he releases anything that's been augmented by AI.
Yeah, I mean, he was saying on his live, he was like 2025. He said he's pushing it hard. And so he's going to push out a lot of things, as well. I think what's interesting too as well, a couple of years ago, as these models and stuff were being developed, the notion was that it was going to tackle white collar jobs and tasks and stuff first, and then creativity second, or creativity last, so I say. And now we've seen that flip. I think here's an interesting question. Are the white collar individuals benefiting more right now than the creators from artificial intelligence?
I mean, I would think the white collar people who know how to use AI systems are for sure benefiting more than the creators right now, because it's they're using it. Yeah, I would say so, because if the creators are generating AI generated content, it's clearly AI generated content. It's something that's going to be flagged and lambasted potentially of being very not creative. So it's not, as far as in the creative space, it's not really there. But if you're using it in a white collar position, say like document summarization, writing emails, all of the things that you have to do really peripheral to what your major job task is. That's an invaluable resource right now.
MIT and Stanford did a research, and they said that they recognize that individuals who are using tools like ChatGPT has already seen up to a 20% increase in productivity. And this is like in your workforce, like in stuff, your labor and stuff. And so, I think it's interesting. And I think, it's interesting to see that it seems like that the workforce is benefiting from these tools more so than the creators and stuff right now. And so it feels like the creators are on defense, and they're trying to figure out, within reason too, within understanding too as well, they're trying to figure out how to protect their IP. They're trying to figure out, okay, did this model use my information, my creation, and stuff. And so, and which I understand. I definitely understand. I mean, the New York Times has been extremely public about their lawsuit and stuff against OpenAI. And so I think this is interesting, that it feels like that the workforce is benefiting more so than the creators from these tools.
But now that you've mentioned the New York Times, but this isn't a topic that I don't think that we're going to discover, but just we can touch on briefly, is that aren't the New York Times and maybe the Boston Globe and maybe even the Daily Bugle from Spider-Man. Aren't they getting some people from OpenAI to come by and introduce them, little AI representatives? And I think they're getting broken off some money for that too.
So the other way around. So OpenAI has decided to hire writers, publishers, individuals who potentially work at these companies, who work at these companies. So like the New York Times or people who worked at these companies previously to come in and, write, on their behalf and everything so they can train their models and stuff. How do you write, like a publisher from New York Times or so and everything. So yes, this is interesting because it's a brilliant play by OpenAI. This is a workaround. So it's been a few large companies who are suing OpenAI, and I understand. They are training their models off of context that it got from their website. And a lot of these platforms have a paywall to their websites, and OpenAI has figured out ways, or rumourly everything support. They figure out ways how to kind of get past these paywalls and everything.
There's totally no way to get around a paywall, right, Marlon?
So they figure out ways how to get around these paywalls and everything to scrape their websites. And so New York Times, they figured out that, hey, a lot of the information that your models are outputting comes directly from our IP. So what OpenAI decided to do, and they've done so along with in aspects of like voice into as well. I'll talk about that in a second. What OpenAI has decided to do is they decided to, I think they're going to allocate like $10 million like to this fund. And so basically they're going to allocate $10 million to hire individuals to come in and write, for them. And so it's a beautiful workaround, because when you take it back into the court and the court says, okay, cool, now show us, the context of where this information came through in your models and everything. Now OpenAI can say, sure, everything. We hired Bill, who was a previous worker or current worker at New York Times, and Bill came in and wrote, for us X amount of hours, and we took the information and we trained it, everything on our model. And so now when you have that type of like flow, you can no longer sue, or you don't have a lot to stand on and stuff anymore. If you're New York Times, if you're one of these, large publishers, you don't have a lot to stand on, because what creates a large publication like the New York Times is the individuals, like the writers. And so OpenAI has found a workaround and to say, you know what, we'll just go hire the writers to come in. They did the same thing. This is why ChatGPT and on the advanced voice side can do accents like Jamaican patois, because they came in and they just hire a bunch of Jamaicans to come in and talk, come in and talk and everything to the model, and it trained their models and stuff off of that. And so, this is it's a workaround. It's a brilliant workaround. I know New York Times is super annoyed, and I know they're pissed, but it's a brilliant workaround.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach. I mean, I really feel like I would be more it would be more common. I wouldn't be as surprised if OpenAI was just offered New York Times, some money to, maybe either license or buy their.
So they did. They partnered with a few. They partnered with a few publishing companies.
Oh,
I mean, New
okay.
York Times they did partner and everything. And so basically, that's why I say this workaround is intended to not have a long-term, lawsuit or so forth. And so, yeah.
Exactly. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Moving on. All right, baby, go. So Anthropic is doing some interesting things over there. Kyle Wiggers from TechCrunch, he wrote in, so the latest innovation from Anthropic, they recently launched and upgraded an AI model, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which now makes the AI different in its ability to interact with your desktop applications, performing tasks like clicking, typing, and even handling more complex software actions. Through a new computer use, the API, this now AI model can emulate human actions on a PC, potentially automating tasks like email replies, research, or even managing apps by itself. While this development is exciting, the article highlights that the potential risk there's potential risk. Early test shows that the AI struggles with some basic tasks, and it gets more advanced. That the growing concern will be misuse, especially in a more sensitive environments like booking systems or using personal data. Anthropic ensures us that it's taking safety precautions, but it's clear that the tool can disrupt how we interact with technology, blurring the line between human input and AI-driven automation. Adrian, man, Anthropic now, this new model can can do some things, everything with your computer, of course, with your permission, and stuff and everything. But what's your thoughts, man? There's a lot of pros and cons to this. Talk to me.
It's great. In short, I appreciate it. We've used the agent approach in our own projects, and where that's gotten to since the beginning of first using it with LangChain, leaps and bounds.
Man, they're just taking blows. They're taking blows right now. LangChain. It's like they were super. They was in the front. They was leading the way. As a framework, and then just go ahead.
It's still valuable for its integrations. Like some of the tools that I've used, I think I'm going to be probably off of LangChain, maybe completely in the near future. But I still see some integrations on the back end out there. But yeah, other companies right now with these agents are really eating their lunch. As far as the automating of your actual computer, I feel like that's great. That's great. I don't know exactly what I would use it for, other than outside of what I use agents for now. Like I probably wouldn't need another that's on there. What I'm thinking is the Anthropic model is going to most likely integrate directly with the I use the Cursor IDE, so I can hopefully spawn an agent through that interface, connect to an agent, and then have it work something similar to how Replit agents work, where you get a working window and you converse with an agent to build the application. Talking with Sekou about this, is fascinating because he's just like, it's a different way of coding. It's giving direction. It's but you're still building the application. So it's exciting stuff. I think that there is, probably the immediate use for it. I don't know if you've ever used this, but those tools that make it seem like you're actually logged in at work. So, little mouse shake, little, the mouse, the mouse movement tool.
Yeah.
That, with the advent of something like this that controls your PC, that type of oversight may be out of business. Whoever's doing that oversight may not, be as effective.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you the pros and cons. Let's start with the cons of this. I don't see this at scale in the near future. Even from a basic task like email. I mean, they already said that they're already starting to see concerns, and stuff with it. I don't see this on the automation side in the near future. I mean, as there's still high error, rates of just building simple, AI solutions, and stuff. And so the understanding that it will start to, on a full automated side, we're talking about understanding size limits when it comes to text-based solutions. We're also still summarizing. You're implementing agents and stuff, with that. We're also we're still talking about compute along with it as well. We are still trying to figure out, the agent infrastructure of, implementing, solutions like this. So I think this is a more so, in my opinion, this is like, hey, this is what's to come. This is not a product that's going to release next month. I'll be very surprised if they release this in like the next 6 months. In beta, sure, they'll probably release it to like a few people or anything, but I'll be very surprised they release this in the next 6 months. Just because there's still so much everything to figure out and stuff in the area.
For sure, it's something to keep an eye on, for sure, because when it comes to interacting with a Windows computer, I feel like I definitely want to keep updated on the news as far as the security considerations here, because how easily corruptible, or you can really have something running on your computer that is malicious, but somehow attached to or activated by the AI unbeknownst to the AI. Particularly, like, say, if it's running some executable in order to do some task, but that executable has been hijacked in some way.
I tell you this, cybersecurity is going to skyrocket as an industry. Man, it's going to be so many different new solutions and implementation and things to figure out and how to solve those things and how to protect those things, because the ability to incorporate a DDoS attack inside of somebody's agent, and then one of the things that still concerns me, like, we still haven't talked about at scale how we're going to protect consumers' data. How we're going to protect their private information. I mean, and I haven't seen one company talking about the infrastructure or implementing something like blockchain. That's a technology and solution that's just sitting there, and is waiting to be. And I think, and it goes back to what we do as a country. I've said this before, we always build the car before we build the seatbelt. Man, I think until these companies start getting hit with like some consistent 500, 700 billion-dollar fines, I don't think they're going to put this at top of mind. And so I think it's more so, this goes back to what we experience consistently. It's like they're trying to make sure, the investors, in the market and stuff is happy and satisfied and stuff with these things. And so, I think that's my biggest concern.
For sure. The compliance industry too is, forming around this topic as well. So if there's, when we talk about security, when we talk about these things, and we talked about the cybersecurity, industry really being, they're going to have a lot of work when it comes to around the AI, but what they're going to develop, the best practices and how that's going to translate into the compliance side of things, which is coming down the pipeline. If a company is using AI, they have to abide by certain compliance rules. We're talking about that, the EU and in California. They're going to be the hopefully the guardrails on this, on using AI locally on your especially a work computer. And that's actually, you know what, that's an interesting point what you said with that too as well, is like personal use. I can see this happening. I see this as a big issue on a work computer. Oh, for sure.
For sure. Being able, because also too, one of the things that was it Coinbase? I think it's Coinbase, or it's like a company that Coinbase invested in or something like that. But I know Coinbase was involved. I know Coinbase is starting to work on autonomous payment agents. And so the ability to assign an agent give them access to your banking or card, and once it makes certain steps, like so the example is you'll be able to eventually create an agent that will go surf the internet for that sweater that you've been looking for. And once it finds it through, several through, websites, platforms, or even marketplaces, then it will make that purchase on your behalf. And so I can see us getting to that place and getting to that world. It's so many data and so many privacy, and it is so many things can go wrong, stuff, in between those steps. And I don't think a lot of these companies have that top of mind. They just want to build a solution and they want to innovate. But I think there's so many things that can go wrong. And unfortunately, typically, the consumer takes the heavier hit of that, versus the market.
Yeah. Yeah, the companies too. And if it's in the case of a data breach or something, like in that vein, they're gonna for sure take the hit.
Yeah, definitely. All right, here we go. Brian Heater wrote, he covers the latest Apple software upgrade that's coming up. So the upcoming features will include iOS, iPadOS, and macOS systems. Apple Intelligence is set to roll out soon. It's going to integrate tools like ChatGPT for advanced questioning and answering, image creation through its image playground, and its new capabilities for Siri. So these features aren't just flashy add-ons that a representative from Apple has said. So the strategy is to stay competitive in the AI landscape by enhancing everyday productivity. From generating original emojis. It's funny they put productivity and emojis in the same sentence. Anyway, from generating original emojis to summarizing articles and creating image based on user prompts. It said this update marks a significant shift in how users will interact with their devices. However, Heater notes that the Apple is being cautious, particularly around its ethics and privacy, as these new tools raise concerns around blurred lines between human creativity and machine generation. So here, I'll start it off with this one, Adrian.
Cool. What you got? What you cooking up?
Okay, so this puts me back in the landscape of what so you remember when Steve Jobs, when they had Safari, and remember when Flash was a big thing on web browsers?
Oh yeah.
And Steve hated it. He hated it. I mean, he wrote that article, basically about Adobe's Flash, of like why it's not good, and why it's just never going to work. They decided to, not include the latest Flash, update within Safari. And for a time period there, the Safari experience and interaction was kind of weird, because you would just kind of like, you'd be scrolling, you have like this big gray, section in the middle of, your experience and stuff like that. But they kept building and iterating stuff around it, which, they eventually figure it out. I feel like this is the opposite of that.
Okay.
I feel like Apple in this area is just building to stay with the times, and that's typically not like them. I haven't seen anything in this area that is unique to Apple, and I'm not even gonna say set them apart and everything, but it's like unique to like the Apple way. I mean, this feels very much like the same thing that Google is doing. And it's Apple typically is a company where they haven't innovated in a long time. And that's typically, and I figured it out, they haven't innovated in a long time. What Apple typically does is they wait for the rest of the market to release products features, and they wait for the market to respond to those things, and then they just go do it better. Like, for example, that was like the fingerprint lock on your phones. And so, like, I remember some Samsungs was like it was like locking people out of their own phone. And the only way you could get back into it was like you had to, like, wipe the entire phone, which you lose your information if you haven't had the back. And so it was like a bad experience. And so, and then Apple came out with the fingerprint lock and everything, and it worked well and everything. And so,
you mean the face, the face recognition or the fingerprint?
No, remember it was fingerprint first, and then face came next.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it was Samsung, Android. They did the fingerprint first, and I think it was on the Galaxy Note or something like that, whatever it may be. So they did the fingerprint first, and they had it going, and it was like this new thing. Like, oh man, this is great. Nobody can get on my phone, things like that. And then it wasn't working properly, so people started to just remove it from their phone, remove the feature from their phone, because it was starting to lock people out, of the Android phones. And so literally like a year or two later, Apple announced it, and it was little to no problem stuff, with it. And so that's what I mean, where it's like typically they don't innovate, they wait till the market responds to something, and then they incorporate it, with I don't feel like there's definitely some data around how people are interacting with these tools. I mean, yes, we're using ChatGPT every single day. The image, things, that's, at least for, I host workshops, and I teach people, businesses and organizations and governments, how to implement these tools. And so it's just like the image thing, that's a every now and then thing, for like the everyday person. But the text generation side, is something that we're using every single day. But they're not integrating text generation. They're just, they are simply they're implementing ChatGPT, or stuff with that. And so that's why I said I don't feel like it feels like they're just kind of like almost keeping up with the times and stuff right now, which is typically not the Apple way. And so this is interesting. To do so. And so I kind of get it why you would do so, because it keeps people. I don't know. No, that doesn't make sense either. I was going to say it keeps people on the device, but I'm using ChatGPT on all my Apple products, and so I don't, it's not clicking for me, why you would do this and everything. And so somebody like Facebook, I get it, because, Facebook just has to stay with the times, because they're always one big scam away, or one big thing away from being canceled, as, like whatever it may be. And so, like, yeah, this is an interesting play on Apple's part, particularly, and maybe the only reason why I can see this being a play for them is for them, they at least get the data on the back end of this to understand what people are using these tools for, then to go build their own. And so I think that's the only reason why I think they continue or announce these things and stuff.
Okay, that's definitely a like perspective, and I have to take another really viewpoint on that, which is quite the contrary. I love it. I love it, specifically because this is an AI model that's going to run on your device. I have been downloading and using models locally for a couple of weeks now, specifically, so outside of ChatGPT. And I have found that it is faster and more accurate to what I want, given a context. So if Apple, which, Apple is the New York Yankees, Apple is the Dallas Cowboys, it's easy for me to just not like them. It's what I'm saying, because so many people do. But for this topic, I am a fan. With what I know that having a local LLM can do with predictive text.
Or on device
With,
LM.
yeah.
Yeah. On device LM.
On device, yeah.
Yeah.
On device. So, you know, when it comes to image generation, for example, you know, I would use that a lot if it was something that operated at a speed that was good, faster than what I can get with a cloud service. And I can insert them in the chats. I mean, I have, you know, so much expression that I feel like
Give me an
there is not
example.
the proper.
Give me an example.
I need to. I'm chatting with my sister. Right. I need to generate an image of, you know, my sister is a cook, so we talk a lot about cooking stuff.
Okay.
So, you know, I want to generate an image of Anthony Bourdain, Rachel Ray, and whoever, Paula Dean in a cage match,
Okay.
or something like that. That would be
Okay.
something funny and contextual to the conversation that we would be having.
Okay.
If we're being critical about something, like I would, if it was something fast that I can generate, you know, locally and just share, I would love it. And with the added benefit of potentially this getting smarter as I use it. So, you know, maintaining the context of what I give it in order to make the responses in the future even better. And it's on device. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of it. I think it's a good move, and it does seem kind of trite at this point. But the advantage of the local installed on your computer model is, you know, I think it's there. I think it really is there. And for Apple to take advantage of that, I think is uh, a good strategic move. I also like the news that they're bringing, you know, some enhancements to Siri back. So we're not throwing her, you know.
Man, that's advanced voice. You know, that's real time API. Like,
yeah, it is, but it's
yeah.
local. But it's local,
but again, it's
you know?
okay. Okay, so let's dive in that example. Advanced voice. I haven't used Siri in forever. Like I use Siri now for like basic functionality of setting an alarm, a timer. You know, I think I stopped using it to like call people. You know, even text people. I stopped using it a long time ago just because I wasn't having a good experience and stuff with it. So you implement advanced voice, real time API into Siri. The only thing I see what's happening is now you are saving me one or two steps. So
Okay.
if I'm opening eyes on my home screen. So I open OpenAI and then I click advanced voice and I'm using it there versus maybe now just the button, you know, stuff on there, it becomes, you know, Siri's advanced voice, you know, and stuff as well. I mean, I can see how the integration of contacts and your messages and things like that, I can see I could benefit there. But now, you know, now we're getting back into, you know, proper like RAG implementation and everything per user per phone, you know, into as well. Like, is that functionality going to be a great experience, you know, and stuff there when you start to integrate, you know, things, you know, when you start to integrate things, you know, with advanced voice and, you know, real-time API, you know, and then you're encompassing that on top of a RAG application per device, you know, and you're still keeping your data private, you know, and stuff in as well. It's gonna be a good experience and stuff. I don't know and
Yeah.
stuff and everything. I don't know and stuff and everything. But again, it's still the infrastructure of it is still OpenAI, and that itself is still not the Apple way. And so, which is I also again put this in question of why they're doing this.
Okay. I see. I can hear you say that, like, okay, because it doesn't seem on brand for them to
No.
go this direction, which, you know, I understand. Um but that can
I
be
mean,
expanded to
again,
a broader topic,
they
really of
they
where
could be
Apple is
doing
great.
this to eventually build their own. Like, okay, that could be the plate system too as well. But as of right now, it's a big question mark for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about the cost? Because there's a cost reduction too. Like, so if it's running locally, you're not really paying OpenAI. You won't need the pro plan if you have something functional on your device
Nah,
that you
you
can.
definitely.
Hmm?
There's no. Is there? Is that there's a there's no there's local for Whisper. I don't think there's any local for Advanced Voice. Is there?
Oh, not that I
Like
know
you
of, but I
can.
know that the Apple Intelligence is supposed to run locally.
Man, they still gonna figure out a way how to get paid. Like, so for sure. I mean, you can remember they made that big announcement of that partnership deal.
Yeah,
And so
but on the
they figure out
consumer
definitely.
side though, they're not paying direct. Like
Oh
they'll.
yeah, yeah. Oh no, you're talking consumer. Yeah. It won't be. Well,
Because that's what, like, what I'm experiencing locally, that's one of the best benefits is that I'm making all these queries and I know that it's not counting towards my funds and my OpenAI account. It's all local.
that's interesting because what I didn't think about is that Apple could, especially when they complete building their own version, they turn it into a service like a subscription.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
they
just
could.
like the Apple Cloud, iCloud. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, that could be a lane.
they turn it into subscription. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that. Um, yeah, I can see that. Okay, cool. So speaking of Apple, some former Apple employees, they left some time ago and started their own startup, a little company by the name of Humane. And so we've talked about Humane a few times. I definitely have my they could have been better, conversation. But here we go. Humane on Wednesday announced a $200 price cut to its flagship product, the AI Pen. The Bay Area startup, founded by two former Apple executives, has reportedly struggled to sell the product, which led in April for $700, and a message to send to its email list. Humane highlights its return policy in the new pitch. It says the AI Pen starts at $4.99, includes the first month of Humane Plan on us, the company writes, along with a 90-day return window. It's completely risk-free unto trial. So the device was poorly received by reviewers. By August, the returns of the AI Pen have reportedly begun to outpace the sales, leaving some 7,000 to 8,000 devices in the hands of users. The company reportedly began exploring a sale in May, amid its poor reviews and poorer sales. Adrian, first of all, how I feel about them, but go ahead.
So it's a $200 price cut. So that's what, from $699 to $499 for the device. Still requires a $24 subscription fee a month, $24 monthly subscription fee.
Yeah.
I feel like their move is going to be to sort out maybe some integrations or really piggyback on maybe some existing products out there to find a good market fit for this product. We've covered a couple of these kind of everything AI products where really AI is great when it's directed, when it's more specific towards a certain task.
As of today, yes.
As of today, I'm sure that's going to change in the future. But I feel like it's just that has to be what they're thinking now. According to the reviews, it seems to be, and I'm talking specifically about Marquise Brownlee's review, and You know, the hardware itself, how it was built,
It's
the
beautiful,
design of it. Um,
in my opinion.
you know
It's
what? I
beautiful.
actually think he had problems with all that. I'm trying to find something nice to say about this guy, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that here. Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Well, look, I got you. Hold on, I got you. So I've saw it in person. I've experienced it in person and everything. I got to use it and stuff as well.
Okay.
The design on the hardware side is sensational. It's a beautiful design. It sits well. It's hidden enough to where, you know, people aren't looking at it every time they walk by you, but it also it sits well where it can be noticed too at the same time. It has a nice matte finish, everything on the black, everything, the camera, the two cameras, everything sits well because it has the cameras on the left. So it has the camera and then it has like the projector, like the red projector and stuff too as well, where it projects, you know, images and things and stuff, the menu stuff on your hand. And then, you know, it's magnetized with the battery and stuff on, you know, on the inside. So just like this mic and everything. So
Yeah,
like
just
this
like
mic
your mic. I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this mic and everything.
But
And
it's
it has
heavier than that mic, though. At the same time, yeah.
Yes. So yes, we're still on the design. So yes, and everything. So it's the magnets of internet, and so it sits well, and I mean, it gets to the point where you can almost forget it's there, you know, and stuff in there. So that's the design of it. The first issue is the battery.
Yep.
The battery, it doesn't, you know, it comes with two batteries and everything. And so my buddy Matt, he has one, and he said basically he got to swap batteries like midday. And so and he doesn't even like use it a lot. And so that's the battery. The second major issue for me was its own independent phone number. It doesn't partner with your devices. Their whole thing they did a TED talk, not a TED talk, they did TEDx. They did TEDx and stuff talking about it. When they announced it, their whole thing is that it was going to replace the phone. Right? And I knew that was an immediate issue. It was an immediate issue. It's because we don't really live in a world anymore of the replacement. We live in a world now of the ecosystem and the partnership with the devices. So remember, for quite some time, Apple was promoting that the iPad was going to replace the laptop.
Yep.
I have my iPad here with the notes for the show, and I have my my Mac, you know, and stuff here, you know, and currently on the platform that we're using, it doesn't run well on the, you know, on the iPad, you know, as well. And so they've refrained from that type of dialogue and stuff now, and now is looking at it as a device that's in the Apple ecosystem, and they're finding use case for specific people who potentially can use it full time. You know, so maybe, you know, a college student could use it full time and as their own standalone device. But it's not the full replacement of a tool that, you know, we've lived with. So well, that's the next mistake, is that they gave it its designated phone number, and it's very, very difficult for it to incorporate, you know, with, you know, your own devices. Like, I'm not about to import 1,000 contacts to this device, you know, just to have people call it on this device only, you know, as well. It's just not a good experience. Stuff with it. And then the next issue of what it is, it's super laggy. It's super laggy. It lags. It doesn't give you no type of response. Here's one of the major issues and stuff with them. It was an on device LLM, and so they were building their own. They're building their own model. It wasn't being connected and stuff with any of the models and stuff. Here's the problem with that: is if I'm on this device, and I have my experience with a platform like Anthropic, in ChatGPT, and I am talking to advanced voice, I'm doing chat, functions and everything. What do you think mentally I'm doing in comparison when I talk to here? I'm like, man, this is okay, nice, bet, got that. Okay, cool, next and everything. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, let me do the advanced voice. Okay, let me do this and everything. And I come back to the AI pen and I'm like, hey, I'm asking her the question and give the query, and here I am waiting. And then when it finally responds, it's nowhere near as good as models that I have access to on my phone. You're shooting yourself in your foot. You're shooting yourself in your foot.
And models that you have access to on your phone that are not on device. They're making a web request to get that. And it's slower on the on-device LLM on that pen. Yeah.
As a consumer, consciously or unconsciously, I'm doing comparisons. I'm comparing every single time I use it and everything. And anytime it doesn't match my experience or the quality that I'm seeing of like your competitors, it just starts to do this. And then you get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm done with it, bro. Let's like go return it, like, and everything. And so yeah, it's not surprising at all that they have 8,000, whatever. So I think it was like they're getting like 8,000 returns or whatever it may be. Like it's not surprising at all because they set a high goal. They set a high goal, and the goal itself just was misaligned. And they didn't align with the times. They were trying to step into a world that didn't exist, and that world right now doesn't exist. Even your autonomous vehicles, your autonomous vehicle partners with companies and platforms. Everything. Sure. Your Tesla has Apple Music. Your Tesla, has Audible. And things that you there's no world anymore that lives where you're just gonna have this device and it just lives and stuff by its own without the partnership of other tools, services, and things like that. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I mean, possibly the Humane team just doesn't have phones. So they just weren't updated on how awesome the phone is. Because if you're going to say that this is going to replace my phone, there's no Instagram on here. There's all of, the creature comforts of a phone are not here. Plus it's slower. So,
yeah. Can you imagine that being a policy at Humane? Like, don't you dare bring your phone to the office. Remember the time period Microsoft employees couldn't use Apple devices.
Oh yeah, I thought it was still like that.
Yeah. And so I mean they can now and everything, but yeah, for a time period they couldn't use Apple devices. And so can you imagine that being a policy? Like, don't you dare bring your phone into this office. Wow. You figure it out. If you can't figure it out, this is why you need to get back to work.
You get in a low light area and you use this laser beam, interface to get your context.
Yeah. I try to refrain from like promoting, others like contents like that. But the Marquise Brownlee review on that device was just like, he should rename that video to like RIP, you guys are done.
Oh my goodness. I think I've had to have watched that probably about 3 or 4 times completely. That was that was rough. There's so many I'm seeing a lot of just on that topic, a lot of creators that are kind of taking that approach, like, oh, we're gonna do kind of like expose journalism on the tech industry and have these hard-hitting reviews and interviews about what's going on. Coffeezilla and the other one on Decoder. Decoder's been releasing some content on social media where they're doing interviews and just going at these companies like it's in interviews with the CEOs. They did it for Rabbit, and they just recently did it for QuickBooks TurboTax, I believe it was. So yeah.
Hey, I'm a speaking of policy, I'm gonna set a new policy for this podcast today. What's today's date?
Today is the 23rd.
Today, October 23rd, 2024. I announced today as the last day we discuss Rabbit.
Yeah.
Like, man, it's just we're just gonna stop. Like I don't I don't want to talk about
humane may be that way too, man. We maybe this can be the day that we sunset the humane discussion too. Unless something really changes,
Humane really built something though. Like Humane, they really took some time to think and innovate. They just missed the mark. They missed like, I would argue they missed one crucial mark one thing, which is the integration of your phone. The integration and everything, and it being a partnering device and stuff with your experience. So basically, it should become a wearable like the Apple Watch. Everything. That's what they should have like, and I believe they would have succeeded. Everything, which also too, this gives a company like Apple, like we just talked about, it gives them roadmap to go build a device like this in like a few months or a couple of years or stuff, whatever it may be. But they innovated and they built like some really nice hardware and IP, and they built LLMs and stuff, and they integrated stuff with it, and they figure out a way how to give a device that's small its own phone capability. Rabbit again is just a Raspberry Pi, bro. Like, it's not that Rabbit is basically the hacker version of something like Humane.
But it seems like in that hacker version, what were they, 70% to 80% possibly of the features that the Humane pen has, besides the hardware? Take the hardware out of it and take the question answering, take the actual functionality of it. It's the same complaints for both of them, and I would say that with I'm not even gonna defend these guys. I'm not gonna. But with Rabbit, it's very hacked together. It's very hacked together on the back end,
right?
And through whatever they did with that, they basically got the same reviews. I mean, it was the same problems. There was battery life complaint. There was also the slowness complaint as well, which they fessed up and said it's not an on-device LLM, I think. Which with the Humane pen, I'm kind of thinking maybe the same situation, because it's that slow. And I was just telling you about what an on-device, how fast an on-device LLM is. It's way better.
Yeah. Oh, also, didn't Tesla, didn't they fess up and said that the Tesla robot at the announcement that basically it was being controlled by humans?
Yeah. Oh wait, controlled by humans as far as
so like the voice, the voice.
The voice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the humans were basically talking to a mic and everything, instead of it being like a own device. On device LLM, and talking, experiencing that.
Interesting. I'm impressed that wasn't.
It's difficult.
Was that the extent of it being driven by a human? Because if these robots were walking around this crowd, serving hors d'oeuvres maybe and making cocktails, was that someone back there with a remote control kind of doing that, or was that?
Here's the thing: if you put one thing in question, you got to put everything in question.
Yeah, it's true.
You got to put everything in question, everything. And so they wasn't forefront. They wasn't forefront in being transparent. They basically just allowed your imagination to roll. And stuff. And so, and they could have just came out and said, like, these are our human powered, AI, Tesla robots. And stuff, and
because that's still a story. Tell me that you got a bunch of Ready Player One people in the back with headsets on, and on that Disney treadmill that you can walk in any direction. You know what I mean?
What a job!
And then actually, that's amazing. That would be great. Someone that's operating an avatar, basically.
Sign me up.
Yes.
What a job.
Uh-huh.
That's hilarious. All right, man. Okay, here we go. Adrian Horowitz has now announced a new program called the Oxygen Program. The big venture capital firm is now providing access to NVIDIA H100 GPUs, a key resource to AI startups for developing their large models. This is significant because the tech giants like Google, Meta, and Microsoft have been dominating the GPU market, leaving smaller companies struggling to secure computing power. They need to compete. By offering flexible and low-cost access to GPUs, A16Z is giving their portfolio companies a chance to grow without the burden of expensive cloud contracts or inflated evaluations needed to afford these resources. In broader context of AI development, A16Z is positioning themselves as a key player, not just through financial investment, but offering the essential infrastructure for AI startups that to need to survive. The GPU clusters but is a game changer, is leveling the playing field for smaller players in the race. It allows their startups to focus on building without the constraints of fundraising for computing costs alone. Adrian, man, I'll start with this. Right now. So, as you guys know, I used to work at a venture capital firm a couple years ago, and I was an engineering director there for a couple of years. And that venture capital firm was known to be a full stack venture capital firm, which means that they wrote the check, but they also dove into the operation side of with you. And so they write the check, but they help you with legal, they help you with engineering, they will help you design, your content and things like that. And so it gave us the opportunity to thrive in different ways and partner, very uniquely with entrepreneurs who needed, more than just cash. So you can get cash or anything, but even right now it still has some complex of like hiring people, at scale. This is brilliant. I mean, there's no other way to put this. This is brilliant for them to acquire, get access to a bunch of, or maybe even front the costs. So maybe they front the costs and they kind of include that, within their how they set their valuation and everything to these startups. And so I think this I mean, it's also they're funding so many AI startups right now. I mean, it's crazy. And so, but no, this is brilliant. And also too, if you are a startup and you're looking to get some VC funding, or even get some VC funding, I think it's gonna be it makes them set apart. I'm not sure if any other VC farms or stuff are doing this. I haven't heard. But they're definitely large ones who can gain access to anything to a bunch of GPUs or either front the costs and stuff like that. But I mean, they're also ahead of the market. I mean, they're ahead of the curve, and stuff. And so, if you are a startup and you're looking, you need for definitely GPUs to kind of build out your infrastructure or scale. I think it's hard to ignore that. And I think it's hard to ignore that, and I think it's just like a smart move, from the team and stuff over Adrian Horowitz to be able to do so. And so now you give a startup the ability to build a model for a particular use case, and not get overcharged from your loud cloud infrastructure companies. And so I mean, I think we talked about, I don't know if I'm not going to say it because I can't remember if we talked about this privately or we talked about it on the podcast, but we know there's a cloud company who has figured out ways how to decrease their in-house costs for GPUs and inference, but they have not changed their consumer pricing. And so, which I mean, there's nothing illegal or anything to that.
Less overhead.
Yeah. And so there's nothing illegal to that, but it's just kind of funny because I would argue they're probably going to increase their price, to as well, on the cloud side, for the AI compute and stuff. And so, and then also too, I know this we didn't talk about publicly. We also know another cloud provider who is struggling to get GPUs, a large one, And it's starting to come out now that one of the competitors have all the GPUs, and so a lot of companies are trying to switch ship, jump ship and stuff over there. And so yeah, I mean, being able to kind of like not be in between that war and have your investor partner, kind of like front the bill for you, if you will, is a nice thing and stuff like that. I think my only question or maybe concern and stuff here is, does the valuation of those companies kind of remain the same? Do they increase? Do they decrease and everything? Can they use something? Can they use like that type of like asset on like their cap table? Since they did get an investment and everything from Andreessen Horowitz, and also too, does that give companies like venture capital firms like Andreessen Horowitz, does that give them more power over the startups if they need to do a takeover? If they need to switch seats, they need to switch seats and everything, with CEOs or for employees. Does it give them more access to power over these, these little startups? And so, I don't know, but yeah, I think it's overall good, but definitely if with everything, there's definitely has some cons and stuff to it with as well.
Yep, it's a strategic move. It's a strategic move, like an accelerator, like Y Combinator or and Andreessen Horowitz. I don't know if they're an accelerator; they're more of a venture capital firm. But
yeah, Andreessen is the venture capital firm. Y Combinator is the accelerator.
Is the accelerator? Okay, so they're hopping on what's popular right now. So before, it could have been credits to cloud infrastructure, is what they would give you if you got investment.
That's right. Yeah, good point.
Before and access to certain things. So because that is what's in demand right now, as far as the companies that are getting the funding, that are getting picking up steam, they have to do with AI. So what this is going to do is it's going to attract people to get investment from Andreessen Horowitz and Andreessen Horowitz, so that they can hop on that wave, and it could potentially be mutually beneficial, because if this company, let's say if a company just does something that actually catches, then the venture capital firm benefits as well. So it just positions them great in the market, as far as demand, because right now the story of the startup is not the same as it was 10 years ago. The whole game has changed. The whole game has changed. It was a game of build fast, launch a product, buy some ads, get some steam, get a user base. Now it is a lot of these things have been really, I don't know, either, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really as easy as it was before, because the market is flooded really right now with a bunch of people, with applications, and there was a time where you can launch an app, but then it'll change your whole life. I don't think that we're necessarily in that economy anymore. So really, I would be interested to know, as far as what the competitive edge this is going to give this venture capital firm in 5 to 10 years. I would be interested, because things change so fast. Things change so fast, and what they're doing right now is smart, because they're hopping on the wave to attract those companies that are going to need that back end. But they're doing nothing different than what they've always done. And to what I assume they've always done, which is to have basically the infrastructure to support these startups. So
yeah,
It's definitely genius. It's definitely a good move, but it's business as usual to a certain extent.
So yes, this gives them a strong. This gives them a runway. This gives them a runway to be wrong a lot and find those unicorns.
Yep.
And so this gives them the opportunity to uh, invest wide and also deep. So typically, they how venture capital firms, are set up is like you have a fund and everything. So say for example, your fund is $100 million, and let's say for example you focus on three categories. Let's say e-commerce, energy, and hardware. So like this, whatever. So you take a certain percentage or anything and you allocate that percentage or anything for internal, use and everything. So to pay your employees, everything. So typically that's like below 5% and everything for like the, general, but there's ways to increase that. And so then you're supposed to allocate, that 95% everything to the funds or everything, to the different companies. And so you put that in three categories, but with that, those categories now become limited. So you're not going to invest, if you're writing check size, up to like, let's say for your Series B type of company. So you're writing check size and anywhere coming back could be like, 5 to 25 million type of thing. And so now you're not going to invest that into a lot of companies because you don't have, like the financial upside to do so and everything. So now you're still kind of limited with that. What this does with them is it allows them to write smaller checks.
Oh, for sure.
At a wider range. And so now they can write smaller checks because, hey, we're funding the costs, for, your GPUs, access to all these things. And so like you said too as well, typically one of the things.
No, I mean, they're renting the GPUs. So, I mean, I thought that, they give them money and then they would be paying as they go, either monthly or something, a rate to use those GPUs.
Yeah. So yes. So like either way, either renting, they acquire a bunch of GPUs and everything. It's like basically they're still kind of funding the cost of it, because then if you don't have this program and then you got to go get into that cloud war, with these large companies as well, and so that's going to be a higher cost, to as well. With that, so you get into that cloud war. You get into that cloud war if you can't do this and everything. So now this allows you to write smaller checks and invest, wide and everything. And now since you now have written smaller checks and everything, you still can create, so you can still have a certain percentage where you can double down on the ones that that's really about to explode. And so, you can find those unicorns very quickly when you have that type of infrastructure. And so if you invest into 100 companies, you're probably going to have like 1 or 2 unicorns. And now you double down on those 2. And so now you can write, now you go to, you initially write the seed fund and everything, then you go to a Series A, and then now you can double down like on a Series B and stuff with them. And so, yeah, it's an infrastructure play and everything. It's not a new thing, everything. And the only new variable in this is the GPUs. And also too, Andreessen Horowitz does the same thing with talent as well. And so a lot of people don't know they invest into companies to get access to talent. And sometimes, they will go snatch the talent from one company and they're going to place them and stuff in another company. That's like, really, that's really like kind of, taking off. And so they do the same thing, kind of do the same thing too on the legal side too as well. So they got lawyers. If you've ever been to San Francisco, the Andreessen Horowitz office is like surrounded by like, they got like 3 or 4 lawyers. And so like their own personal lawyers are like next door walking distance, and stuff like right there with it. And so they use these same individuals for, their portfolio companies when something, big and stuff happens. And so this is why this whole notion, this kind of goes to something else. This whole notion that the Bay Area is done, it's going to go away. It's things like this why they won't, and so when you have number one, you have an incubator, which is YC Combinator. And so you're finding the early companies who can potentially go into it, and then you make another investment into them when they come over to A16 Z. You have an infrastructure around you with like your legal team and stuff with it. By the way, you're down the street from Stanford, as well. So you're having recycled talent, not recycled, but you're having new blood talent coming in every single year, and you're just finding stuff, people. And then you also still have you're right down the street from downtown San Francisco, where talent can be laid off at any time. So now the lead engineer from Snapchat just got laid off. Yeah, come down the street. We got a company for you.
Yeah.
Stuff as well. Like Bayer is never going anywhere. Like everything. And so because they develop an ecosystem and community that will thrive past anything.
Yeah. I'm with that, but I have a little bit of doom and a little bit of potential doom and gloom to interject here, but about this model. So they're renting the GPUs to the startups, which to me is sounding like Monsanto. It's sounding like kind of like a record industry, where there's an advance that you have to pay back. So if their business model is that we're going to invest into your company, however, as you're renting the GPUs, this is you're paying back a certain amount every time, or every month, depending on how you're renting the DPU. So now you have this cost that is taken away or deducted from your overall investment every month as well. And depending on how that's priced, Andrew Horowitz can be making money off of that in and of itself as well. So if they're, if they're renting, okay.
Watch this. I don't think so. I don't think they're charging. Number one, it's illegal to do so from the VC standpoint. You can't charge your startups for services. It's very, very heavy. It's very, very a lot of red tape and stuff there. So you can't charge your startups for services.
What is renting a GPU then? Like what is renting?
So watch this. You said it earlier. Is basically you said like, hey, it's like a loan and stuff almost, if you will. Watch this. Adrian Horowitz are not writing grants. The investment itself is a loan without the GPUs. So they're just including this in the already substantial loan. So this 2 million, 10 million, whatever stuff I'm giving you is included in the GPU. So it's already a loan. Like they're already giving you loans when they invest into you. They're not grants. And so they're just including this new program and saying like, hey, by the way, when you take our investment, now you have access to this oxygen program that allows you to get direct access to H100s. And it's included in the loan. So again, it goes back to is, does the valuation change for that company? Does the valuation change for that company? Because now this is almost a second loan stream from the VC to the startup. I mean, it's all bundled together and stuff with that. But now does this give them access to more power? Like, does it get them a new board seat, over the company? Now does the 25% of the company now become 35% just because of this commodity is so needed and stuff right now in this world? I don't know. I don't know. But you can't for VCs, you can't charge your startup service fees and everything. That's like highly it's a bunch of red tape and stuff in that area.
Interesting.
It's and so
okay.
But you can't include it because it's a full stack venture capital firm. So like I said, we did the same thing at Lightship. So like we couldn't charge them when we helped them with the design, of their website or product. We just include that on the initial investment.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense then. Because yeah, and thanks for clearing that up. Because yeah, I wasn't sure about what that model looks like. But now, yeah, now I know.
It still have some drawbacks for sure. I mean, I'm not overstepping. It definitely can still have some drawbacks, and so we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, great, man. As always, my brother, man, this has been great. You know, yeah, man. Oh, by the way, too, man, we miss Sekou. Sekou and everything had to step aside. He has some business things to take care of, and so hopefully he'll be back with us and stuff next week and everything. And so Sekou, man, I know you're listening to as well, man. You know, love you, miss you, and then looking forward to come back. We held some conversations back because you weren't here, so that shows our dedication. That shows our dedication. Yeah, stuff to you. And so yeah, man, we talked about this AI Photoshop debate. You know, we discussed Anthropic's new model or thing that now can have control over your PC. Apple Intelligence is about to roll out as well. Humane price drop. You know, they dropped $200 on their price or thing, which is now starting seeing more red flags to Humane. And then Adrian Horowitz has made a power play surrounding the GPUs. And so, yeah, man, it's been a great episode.
Agreed. Great episode. Great talking to you, Marlon.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, definitely like, comment, subscribe. Definitely, give us a like and stuff, and subscribe to the channel, man. We are here weekly at every night, 9 p.m. on Wednesday. We live stream here on Twitch along with YouTube as well. And then now you can find us on all platforms at AI with Friends podcast. And so, guys, until next time, we are out.
Peace.